Into the president's visit to India, the first official state visit the president is making to the second most populous country in the world. What does these numbers mean for Kenya in terms of business investments in various sectors, including agriculture, ICT? You really want to partner with India in areas like health. But the president here, first of all, one of the fruits is the communication from State House indicates that Kenya has managed to get 38 billion shillings to be spent in agriculture or agricultural mechanization and for vaccines, among other interventions. How do you interpret this?
Well, it's comical to me because India is a third world country, as we are, and the poverty level of India is almost equivalent to ours. But the disturbing question, or something that I cannot get out of my head is, if India is loaning us 38 billion, then how bad are we as a country? We are both at the third level, the third margin, right? Almost at the same poverty level. But here comes India, loaning us 38 billion. Then it is serious that we as a country, we're really in a bad shape. Yes.
Isaac?
I think we are getting to a point where I'm beginning to believe that if you take the Kenyan politicians, let's say, to USA, in the next 6 months' time, the USA will be coming to Kenya to borrow for loans. Because where we are headed now, it's like we are going to get money from Congo to build roads in Kenya. We are really in a very, very bad state. And I think the president should start listening to the people. Even if he cannot listen to his advisors, they should even start then listening to the people, even the people who voted for the opposition then. If he can't listen to the opposition, he can't listen to the advisors, he can't listen to anybody, I don't know what will happen. But we are really headed to a very wrong direction. It is very funny. It's no longer interesting. Yes.
But when you say that, who is lending us notwithstanding, do you agree that the government needs to raise revenue if we are going to meet the obligations and to get to finance the budget that the government came up with? Do you think that we really need to be considering who is loaning us? Yes, India could be third world like ourselves, but at this point, in terms of making sure that Kenyans get the services and everything that was promised in that budget, do you think we should be looking at, okay, who is lending us is third world?
Leave alone even the question of who is lending us. Look at the kind of debt the President Kibaki left us with. It was at 1.4 something trillion. President Uhuru Kenyatta brought it to 8 point something trillion in 10 years. Then now we are here in 12 months, we're at almost at 11 trillion from 8. In 1 year, we've already borrowed 3 trillion. Assuming we'll have to go through our culture of having to elect president for 2 terms, if it is 3 trillion for 1 year, we'll get ourselves in 50 trillion. So the issue of borrowing is not even a problem. I'm saying we're getting to a point where we'll now start even borrowing from anybody who comes to this country. We tell them we want a loan. But you see, the problem again is the money is being borrowed, but being stolen by just a few individuals. So today I was telling somebody that when you find ourselves now borrowing from countries that are even suffering than us, there are people who are just interested in getting that money and disappearing with it, because nobody at the end of the day will even follow it up. We know of IMF, that one somebody can follow it up. But if you go and borrow from Uganda, Tanzania, India, you go in Sierra Leone, nobody will even bother how much you borrowed. It looks like an arrangement between the president and just a few individuals in that country. It doesn't look like a public debt. So that is what the president is literally doing. He's now borrowing on his behalf, not even the country. Yeah, that is the problem.
Okay, because I believe that...
Because nobody monitors that debt. If you talk about borrowing, it has to be a debt that somebody will monitor. Don't just go anywhere and borrow. Yes.
Okay, you talked about IMF and other Bretton Woods institutions.
Yep.
Let's talk about the World Bank and all that. The president, one of the things he talked about when in India, he says he's agreeing with the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on changing the global finance system. And this is something that he has talked about several times before. Just trying to reform to ensure that the global south gets their fair share of the resources that is needed in development. Of course, India has joined hands with China, Russia, South Africa, and Brazil to form the BRICS to try to change the whole finance system. As much as we say that IMF and World Bank are the best places to go for.
They're not the best. They are not the best.
They're not the best.
Don't misquote me. They're not the best.
Okay.
I'm just talking about accountability.
Okay.
Yes.
Because we're having 11 parastatals up for sale, and it could possibly be part of the agreements that Kenya signed for loans from IMF and the World Bank. Part of the recommendations was reduce the loopholes through which Kenya is losing so much money.
One thing President Ruto was doing today in India,
Yes.
he was talking against people or institutions like IMF, because IMF is mostly aligned with the dollar shilling. And the issue about now the BRICS, where we have China, Russia, the likes of India coming together to fight the dollar. So the president was just doing a political day in India. It was just a political tour for him, right? Let me please the prime minister, get whatever I want, I go back to my country, right? To him, it's just politics. But here, back to our country, he has a signed covenant or deal or agreement with IMF that Kenyans should be taxed. When he came to this government, when he took over power, he said he will not borrow, right? It is even worse. He's borrowing and he's taxing Kenyans more. We are not seeing results. We are seeing the pinch, right? We're talking about institutions being auctioned or being sold. One of them is Kenya Pipeline. Now I want you to imagine if petrol is at 217. Now imagine Kenya Pipeline goes to an individual. How far will it go? Dennis, it is crazy. To him, he's treating this country as if it's a joke.
Okay.
Kenyans are suffering.
Okay.
Right? The cost of living is high. The shilling has dropped down. He needs to be serious.
Okay, I want us to take closing shots because time is not really on our side. I want us to take your final remarks. On a scale of 1 to 10, do you think that President Ruto is putting Kenya on the global map? Is this what these international travels expected to achieve, and have they achieved that?
First of all, we must acknowledge he has really put us in the global space, especially when matters climate change. He has really tried. But now, as I highlighted earlier, the problem comes with the cost that we get from that. Number one, I'd actually forgotten to mention the issue of carbon markets. That is actually the major component that is African leaders are really pushing for. But when you look at it, you realize that it will only push for more taxes. The companies being taxed, at the moment you're talking about 37 companies plus, closed down. Unemployment is going high because somebody wants to introduce carbon tax or carbon fund or something. So he's really trying, but I think he's not doing right. He's really selling us out probably for the benefit of a few individuals.
Okay.
And then recently, which is very even annoying to me, especially during this season, there is a bill in Parliament to introduce chicken tax.
Okay.
That if you have to rear even one chicken, you must have a license. And that is very sad for me.
Yeah.
Because now I have to sell off all my chickens because I'm not going for the license.
Okay, I cannot confirm that.
No, it is true. There's a bill that has been introduced. But aside that, you're asking a very important question, Dennis, tonight. What is our basis of measuring that President Ruto is taking Kenya to the global map? Is it economy? Then there's no conversation to discuss. Is it climate? We have floods, right? We are going to face drought in come January. There's no simple plan for this government in matters of economy, in matters of climate. So when you're trying to measuring the standard that is taking us as a country, then it's taking us to the tunnel.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me tonight. I've been speaking to Isaac Kweyu, who is a political commentator, and Nick Mwadime Mwangi, who is the National Executive Director, Mount Kenya Colleges and University Students Association. Just quickly looking at the feedback here, Grace Maina says, I'm watching from Machakos University. Kalebe says, I'm watching, and is asking 2013 or 2023. The case of the control of budget will be mentioned again on the 13th December 2023. I'm sorry for that. Anodida was asking, how are those applauses helping Kenyans at the grassroots level? And Agaton Forex says, Comrade Isaka is okay. Thank you so much. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back.
Yes.